It's Monday, we're live, and here I am again, hosting again. It's been a little bit. It is a holiday Monday. I hear it's also a holiday Monday in the States, here in Ontario and over out west in BC. So happy Family Day in Canada, happy President's Day in the US. We are here with the Metal Lab. I am joined this week by Mr. Tom Kerr.
Good evening, everyone.
And Mr. Jay Solomon.
Hi.
Hi. And, of course, I am Jason of Heroclix, and it's been a while since I've been here. And, of course, the Metal Lab, as always, is brought to you in part with our help from Hcrealms.com. Check out Hcrealms.com. It's your one-stop source for all sorts of things going Heroclix. The rumors are always going. The forums are always yapping. The unit section is always going. Build your teams, track your collection, do all that kind of cool stuff. While you're there, click on the little shop button, see what they got to buy, and when you're shopping, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase, and that goes kickback a little to the channel. As well, we're brought to you in part by our longtime sponsor, MajesticCCG.com, home of Heroclix World Champion Patrick Iboko, two-time Heroclix World Champion Patrick Iboko, and home of the Apex Insiders, a source of articles and knowledge nuggets from all sorts of players in the Heroclix universe. A lot of them very, very skilled players. Other ones named Jason Collins. I always get a dig at myself in this rad read. But, of course, check that out. $3 a month gets you access to the premium stuff, the good stuff, the stuff written by the great guys. But, of course, check it out on a regular basis to make sure you're up to date on WizKids Opens, ROC events, Rock events, anything else that's going on in Heroclix World, because they're usually pretty quick to get those results and those teams up for you guys to see what's going on in the metagame. So, once again, that's MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. But it's been a week, to say the least. Tom, how's your week been?
It's been great, although I feel like I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again. It's been a very Heroclix-less week for the most part. I haven't really got to play at all. I was kind of hoping that maybe that would work out tonight, but Mike wasn't feeling up to doing any practicing, and of course I wasn't able to join the guys in Michigan. So I might best characterize my week as a brief plug for the win, the current system of the win, because on Saturday, while I was at work doing my thing, I was regularly refreshing the page to see the results coming in of the win all throughout the day, of see how Jason and Mike and a bunch of other guys that we know were doing down in Michigan. And it's great. I love the way that you can watch the results coming in real time. It's not obviously at the point where they're entering teams or anything quite that advanced, but I mean, that would be kind of ridiculous anyway. But it certainly is fun to see how people's points are going, how their pairings are going, and just, living vicariously through the guys that can be out there playing the game. So I'm a big fan of the way that works right now. So good job on the design there. WizKids.
That. And just a quick correction: Jason was not there, but Jay was.
Sorry, Freudian slip.
Right. A lot of people do refer to me by Jay. It gets really confusing when I'm around this goon. So.
Oh, I did see Jay. Okay.
But in the meantime, Jay, speaking of Michigan and being down in Michigan, how was that experience at the WKO in Michigan?
It was quite the lengthy Mike experience. It was interesting. We left here at around 1 in the afternoon on Friday, and then there was a lot of traffic, and then we were at the border for a while, and then there was more traffic, and then we got to Michigan, where we were staying with Adam Cole, who was on the show last week, and he put us up, and it was very lovely of him, and we thank him again. We went for dinner and whatnot, and we did some more play testing, which ended up being precognitive of what was going to be happening the next day, where I lost him in playtesting, but more on that later. So then we go for breakfast with a bunch of people. We went with George Masu, and Nick Peterson and Patricia, and then we went to the venue where did team sheets and whatnot, and then we started off at the event at noon at Eternal Games, which I still is one of my favorite stores to play at. Just the decoration and the space and the judges and everything. It's such a great venue. I love it. I love going there.
Del Taco.
A lot of great food options. Yeah, Del Taco is great.
Del Taco.
Baby. And then round one, I guess team-wise, I did a
tall glass of water.
A delicious glass of water. Like Mike, I ended up running Jakeem Thunder. He ran that and won with it in Whippy. And I had simultaneously made a very similar team to that. So it was Jakeem with Eclipso, Felix Faust with Brainiac, Box with Lust and Wrath, generally going for the running shot path. Unless I was against a Green Arrow, in which case I went for the charge path, as well as the Atom ID card, which I don't think I ever used, and the level 7 ID card, primarily for Fast Forces Fits for TK, which Faust can call him, but that was almost never used as well. So round 1 was against one of our locals, because we always have to face a local when we travel this far. That was against Patrick Chow, who was running an interesting team with Nick Necro, assigned Brainiac, as well as the comic accurate pairing with Felix Faust, as well as the Alan Scott Green Lantern from Joker's Wild, the Spectre from Joker's Wild, and I can't remember if there was another figure or not, but he also had 2 Pym particles, one to make his figures giant and one to make them tiny. So he, of course, chose my Jakeem Thunder as Nick Necro's friend for the purposes of not targeting whatnot. He won map roll, or I think I might have won map roll, putting us on the Jean Grey indoor. We both moved out. I decided not to start assigning sins because of how Nick Necro likes opposing characters assigned resources. So I did not assign the sins to start moving up. He managed to move up first, having rolled a lockdown on his Faust. So he locked down my Jakeem, but I was then able to TK, call in the Fits to TK Jakeem out of the area of the effective Faust, forgetting about the friendship trait on Nick Necro. So I was not able to make that attack because I'm a silly person. But then I was able to, I rolled yellow the next turn on Faust, which KO'd the Green Lantern, as well as doing some, just KO'd Green Lantern. Missed everybody else that was in the area of effect. Then I ended up being able to get a single target Pulse Wave on his Faust for 5 damage, and then a Precision Strike plus Wrath, shutting down Shape Change and Senses on Spectre to kill him in one shot. And then I basically had the game, but I then elected to let Nick Necro live, so I wouldn't have full points. I would have a slightly better pairing in round 2. Round 2 was against, I can't remember his name, but he was running Ha 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 Joker with Proteus and the Supreme Intelligence Resource, Resurrection Man, and Dead Man, which is a thing that is familiar to people because that is the current Don't Die tech.
Mm-hmm.
So that game, I was lucky enough that he wasn't able to roll plasticity on his Resurrection Man, and I was able to basically get Jakeem to do some hypersonic precision strikes and keep on pinging the Joker for 1 token at a time, while rolling some good lockdowns. So I killed the Joker. Proteus passed on to Resurrection Man because it was the only other option. I then can't remember if I killed Dead Man first or Resurrection Man first, but I was able to kill one, then the other. And because of how the ruling works, how Resurrection Man goes on his card, places the body marker, and then KOs from his card. So Proteus doesn't pop out because there's no legal square for him to occupy. So I was able to get a full win there. And then round 3 was against the guy who ended up winning the event, which was PJ Bolin. He was running Krang, Justin Baxter, as one does, the Harley Quinn from Joker's Wild, the 25-point perplex. He also had the Pym Particle tank, the mini tank, because that works really well with Krang. The -1 attack doesn't affect him much with his stellar values. He also had the Rock of Eternity with 4 sins, which is basically you give Krang Flurry or Hypersonic, both of which are very good options, considering how he does what he does. So I was lucky enough to roll the yellow power on turn 1 to kill Harley and the tank. So that was a pig load off of my shoulders. But unfortunately, the matchup was just not very good for me. He was able to one-shot Faust. And then I knew he wasn't able to get Jakeem, so I managed to get a big Pulse Wave on him to make him have to retreat with Krang and start healing up, allowing me to at least get some points for my inevitable loss. That's basically what happened. I got some points. And then that was my first loss of the day. Then there was a break, which involved me running quickly to get lunch and then doing a battle royale in the interim. My battle royale only just finished in time for me to get back to playing at the event. I got a fun little Superior Foes of Spider-Man battle royale off. Round 4 was the inevitable, I have to play Mike Payne, because that always happens in every single tournament ever. He was playing Nighthawk with Brainiac, Felix Faust with Eclipso, Pocket Tank, Bizarre Green Arrow, and Full Box, which is basically the you cannot do and you can't do this. You can just not do things, please. Unload the box and whatnot. So I was able to kill the tank, run away, set up Mystical Trap on his Nighthawk and Faust, then get Green Arrow, and then once they were released from the Mystical Trap because of the errata, take care of those two since they were basically sitting ducks. So that was really tense considering all the shutdown he had. I made some mistakes in that game, and yeah, did not expect to actually win that game. And that was unfortunately basically meant it was the game where one of us made it through or the other. So for once, I managed to win that game against Mike, against his crazy team. Round 5 was against a guy, I can't remember his name. He was running Quicksilver from UXM, Harley's Hammer, because Giant Reach is good because plasticity is annoying when you have a Quicksilver. Full Point Mephisto, Casey Spectre at lower points, and my absolute favorite, the Wizard, who I actually saw in results or being played at a different open this weekend also, so that was nice. So he basically moved up, equipped his Quicksilver, whatnot. I did my sins. I had Lust on Faust because plasticity is good, and I picked it with Jakeem. And this was a game where I won map roll, and I put us on A Street with all the elevated to be able to hinder Quicksilver effectively. So that he called in a Nick Fury with his level 7 ID card, hit Jakeem, rolling a crit hit for 6 total. But unfortunately for him, the way I was positioned on elevated really far from him, I just then had the time to just start healing up Jakeem with regeneration, getting almost all the way back up, and then him having, or me being in the lead with 5 points. And at that point of the game, I didn't even really need to do anything else. I just needed the win to get into the top 8. So then he threw in Quicksilver. He tried to make some attacks. I rolled Shape Change. And he had to use all of his movement to get there. I killed Quicksilver in one shot. And then it was just basically a matter of picking off the rest of the characters that were there. This game, I rolled a lot of red power. So being able to just screw up your opponent's positioning by sending them back to the starting area when I was already sitting in mine was quite effective. So that ended up putting me in, I think, the 4th seeding of the top 8, which meant I got to face Adam Cole, who, because you want to go to these events and play your friends, right?
The people who are building you.
So
at least you were heading home that night.
You played against one local, one of the guys who's a regular on this show, and then the guy whose house you're staying in out of 5 rounds or 6 rounds. Sorry.
Yeah, so that was not good. He was playing Bizarre Green Arrow, Shumagrath at 200, the Adam Colossal, a box to get charge on Shuma with Gluttony to eat blocking if you're in an indoor map with Shuma, which is a great idea, and obviously Sloth on Green Arrow. He had 3 ID cards, which were Batman, which ended up being for the Trinity War Batman. I leveled him for, I think it was Nick Fury that game, but he had other options. And Green Lantern ID card for the KC Alan Scott, which are all very scary and effective options. This particular game, my Faust rolling was not quite good. I chose my Evil Dead the Musical t-shirt because of the Necronomicon connection to Faust. And I think that helped my dice rolling with the D20. But it ended up being that I rolled a lot of green power, which was friendly characters ignore hindering, but not enough of the good stuff. So basically ended up being he would move up his Shumagrath, I would roll the red power, put him back in the starting area. He would come back across the map. I would roll something crappy, phase carry with Jakeem to try and stall out time to get something good on Faust. And then it just back and forth like that. And eventually he was able to make the attacks off. I theoretically could have done my attack to win, which was Jakeem with super strength exploit to one-shot Shuma, which at times would have been 12 on a 20 with a prov on either side, or 12 on a 21, and that was really risky. I didn't end up doing it, although I could have, but I did not want to risk it, and I was hoping to stall out and get the Faustining stuff, but it didn't work out quite as well as I would have liked to. So he ended up killing Faust. Jakeem survived somehow on one of his later clicks at the end of the game. So despite the fact that I ended up getting knocked out of the top 8, I'm 99% sure that I have a slot for U.S. Nationals. So that's good.
Awesome. That's great.
And I did another battle royale with George and Patricia, and it was fun. Good trip. I got to spend some time with Mike, which is always nice. And play some clicks and play Jakeem, which I was looking forward to. And it was just a great weekend.
Awesome. Good to hear, man. Now, Mike didn't join us, but he sent us a little quick blurb. He didn't have too much in detail as far as his matchups were. And much like Tom, I was watching the matchups from the win, so it was exciting to see. Got a little sad faced when I saw that Jay was playing against Mike. I was like, oh, man, that had to happen, I guess.
All the way there.
I knew it was a knockout round 2, and it's like, oh, this is not good. Because these WKOs at the 5 rounds, you're stuck with that, one. You only have one loss that you're allowed to take.
Right.
So, in any case, Mike says, sadly, I'm just getting over the flu, so that's why he couldn't get the chance to join us. It was a great event and great to see all the familiar faces and fans. Proud to see Jay and Adam do so well. So, it's a little quickie from Mike. He's a little under the weather right now, so he got sick from all the hanging out down there.
Yeah, all the party.
My weekend consisted of me trying to find a way to get to Michigan at the last second. Did you know that it is possible for a 1 a.m. Greyhound bus to get sold out?
Wow.
Who knew, right? So, I was trying to make a sneaky little surprise trip there. And then all of a sudden, all my sneakiness and my planning and my last second availability just kind of went, well, that's what I get for, a lot of what I was available to do was very last second. And unfortunately, because of the hours that I work, I wasn't able to hitch a ride with Jay and Mike, who were going in much earlier in the day. So I did my best trying to get down there, tried to convince a few other people maybe to go down to Michigan. But with the last secondness of it, and that's unfortunately now my life, I couldn't get down there. So I did play in a local event, which was for the Spider Ham. And for this particular event, what they did was they got rid of some fast forces by selling them for $10 pop, and then you played with the contents.
That's awesome. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it was a great idea. And I was trying to be silly, and plus me and Amber keep fighting over Jean Grey. So I used the all-new X-Men fast forces. And funny joke throughout the whole thing, I would show people the cards, like, should I play my figures this team, or then I'd flip them the other way and start flipping, showing them all the cards. It was a running gag I had beforehand because, you out of 300 points of your fast forces, you have to play all 6 of those figures.
Mm-hmm.
First round went well. The first 1.5 rounds, my dice were rolling well enough as expected. Like, they were rolling 7s, 50-50. They were rolling low numbers on a regular basis. High numbers were missing quite frequently. But then about halfway through, all odds turned into Jason odds. And I think the beginning of the third round kind of set the pace for me when my Cyclops critically missed, followed by critically missing on a prob roll. It's like, okay. Anyway, I had a ton of fun, which was the important part. And I got it. What I did do as well is I got to bring my box of unboxed stuff from Deadpool and played a great game with local guy Aiden, a friend of mine who drives me around locally to events and hangs out with me as well. He's a great friend of ours and really helps me and Amber get out to support the Comic Warehouse. So we played a game. He played an X-Force themed team using the Colossus Super Rare, a Meltdown, Boom Boom, and a couple other X-Force characters in general, Phantom X as well. Dreadpool was on his team well, like really, really good solid figures. And I went with the box. I built I had a, like, when I say the box, I mean, I pulled as many figures as I possibly could onto my team just to see how much wackiness I could do. And one of the highlights of the game, I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to go into more detail about this experience a little later because I want to talk to everybody about what this set is bringing to the table in wackiness. But when Tippy Toe critically hits a character for 4 damage, you get to smile.
That's great. I like it.
Thanks, Lady Death. We'll talk about that a little later on.
Oh, Lady Death, I'm excited for her too.
Oh, man. But we'll get into more of the details on that later on. Let's talk about the news, as it were. And a number of unboxings have occurred, ours included. We spent a little bit of time kind of dodging it last week because we got in a little bit of trouble for jumping the gun. We apologize to WizKids again profusely. We didn't know there was an embargo on our time limit, and we feel really pale-faced about it. So that's why last week we didn't go to a lot of detail about our stuff. We're still not going to go to a lot of detail because we got a video full of all those details.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that unboxing stuff, some figures got missed. Some figures haven't been talked to in a lot of detail. I know our video and Scott Porter's video spent a lot more time on the game mechanics and the figures itself. But we're going to cover the ones that didn't quite get the coverage that you'd expect and want. And that said, let's talk first about Thorn. Now, Thorn is the prime of Feral. Feral was also previewed at the same time. We're not going to go too deep in depth on Feral because you saw her in Scott Porter's video and our video. But Thorn is a Morlock, also a Mutant Liberation Front character, and animal for keywords. Betray everyone I've ever known is her trait that gives her shape change. She's got a special movement power. Thorn can use sidestep, give Thorn a free action if she's within 3 squares and line of fire of an opposing character, and place her adjacent to that character. She has special damage power on click 3 and 4. On Better Alone, if Thorn isn't within 2 squares of a friendly character, increase her shape change roll by 2. Other than that, what you see is what you get on a dial. She is 50 points. She is the uncommon prime. Tom, what do you think of Thorn?
I like her a lot. I wish I had something really in depth to say about her, but I think it's neat that they've given her this really odd version of it. Let's call it what it is. It's basically an odd version of charge. It doesn't have to be, of course. She can have 2 tokens and she can still sidestep and move around, or pop and then sidestep. I mean, there's nothing to say that it has to go in that order. So if you're confident in your breakaway, if you have a way of giving her plasticity, then she could use her free action to pop next to somebody and then sidestep next to somebody else or stuff like that. So it's not just charge. I think it's a really cool thing that you can use. You can go 5 squares and attack somebody, almost like you had 10 movement charge, but you've got lots of other versatile uses of that particular power. I like the fact that she gets the shape change boost on a couple clicks where people absolutely don't want to be next to her. And so, it's the fact that she has to go solo from her friendlies, to me, is not as big of a problem, especially if you kind of see it coming. If you expect that a hit might be coming and you can use her sidestep or her free action power to get away from 2 from opposing characters, then if she's dealt 3 or 4 damage, then she'll end up on, I guess, 2 or 3 damage, I should say. Then she'll end up on some wicked Flurry Blades clicks with shape change, super shape change, and super senses. Makes her real hard to take out if she's going solo on those clicks. You just have to kind of aim to make sure that she ends up there. And otherwise, traded shape change is obviously amazing. So I had nothing really else deep to say about her, but for 50 points, she's a great package. And she's got that animal keyword that is becoming increasingly potent and increasingly viable. So it's great.
It's coming back.
It is. It really is.
Jay?
Nothing really to add. She's a great character. She's not stupidly powered. She feels prime, but she's not overpowered. Like, she basically is a Blades character at the dial. Good mobility and good defenses, but not. I don't know if she'll necessarily see competitive play, but then again, when you already have Clarion and Teakle as the backbone of your team for that cheap, throwing in another character with some blades, high damage output potential, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Blades, when it's hot, and when it's cold, but still, it's damage that I find often characters with Blaze Claw's Fangs are a lot cheaper than the damage potential that they carry, which is great.
Yeah.
Because
I love Blades. It's such a great power, and as you say, it's very economical.
Absolutely. All right. So yeah, general consensus. Thorn's pretty good. Hope to see her on some kind of idea of a team later on. But next, we talk about poor little Orphan. Orphan is X-Force, X-Statics, celebrity, and martial arts keywords. He's sensitive. He can ignore hindering terrain for movement, and he's got his headline tokens, of course, the headline ability, which all the X-Statics guys have. When Orphan hits one or more opposing characters after actions resolved, give him a headline token. Mr. Sensitive is his next trait. When Orphan would make an attack roll, you may remove any number of headline tokens from him to roll that many additional dice and then ignore all but 2. If you do, this roll can't be rerolled. And then he's got a special damage power on his first 3 clicks. The fans love our infighting. Orphan can use leadership. At the beginning of your turn, you may remove a headline token from a friendly character card and place it on the card of another friendly character. And then he's got a really solid dial of stats there, 70 points. And he's got the X-Men team ability as well. Jay, what are your thoughts on Orphan?
He looks like he could be a solid sealed piece, although for your rare, you could hope for a little better. I guess leadership is always good in sealed, especially when all the low point characters there are in this set. And he also works very well with You Go Girl to give her the free move actions, because as is, she's not really going to be making attack rolls on her own, so you can get extra move actions with her for free. And I always like seeing Late Dial Outwit. Persistent Strike is good. He'll be decent for sealed and casual fun times, but not really competitive.
All right, Tom.
Quick word of clarification, because I'm not sure how to read it myself. When it says you may remove a headline token from a friendly character's card, that would include his own, right? Because it does say a friendly, not another friendly. And place it on the card of another friendly. Does that mean not him, or is it simply another from the one it was removed from? What use of another is
friendly? He can shift from anyone to anyone else,
including himself.
Yeah.
No. That's pretty cool then, because his headline power is really quite nice. And a lot of the ecstatics are, but my concern is always the fact that they've got to be already getting the hits in order to get those headline tokens up. So if you're playing an ecstatics team, then he really does seem valuable for that reason alone. And the fact that you can use him for himself is so much the better. Otherwise, though, I am a little concerned about 70 points for 5 clicks, with the only defense being something that there is another very common standard power that gets around. He's a little rich for that, in my opinion. I like the fact that he can be moving headline tokens around. If the Ecstatics somehow find a way to become a really viable theme team, then he's a good backstop for them. As a piece in his own right, like on a celebrity or a martial arts team or something, I'm not sure that I'm quite as enthusiastic about him. Just a little bit rich for those defenses.
Yeah, and where you ended off was where I was going to go with that is, if Ecstatics becomes a thing, Orphan is great. If Ecstatics isn't quite a thing, he's not going to be a thing. So, and that's kind of where I see it. I mean, the dial, yeah, it's a little weird, but I feel like a lot of it is going to be the fact that he engineers how the Ecstatics are going to work in a certain way. And if Ecstatics works the way it's supposed to, Orphan could be quite the engine to help run them very well. And I want to point out, Jay made an interesting comment where, this is a little rough on the rare slot. That's right. So let's talk about something great in the common slot. How about Cable?
Wow.
Cable comes with the New Mutants, 6-pack, X-Force, X-Men, Armor, Future, and Soldier keywords. He ignores hindering for movement. He's traded X-Force with the ability to use stealth. Cable, he's also got a special movement power on click 1, 4, and 7. Body slide. Cable can use phasing teleport. When he does and moves 5 squares or less after actions resolved, he may make a close or ranged attack. He's also got a special defense power on his first 3 clicks. Cable can use invulnerability. When Cable has less than 2 action tokens, he can use energy shield deflection. He is indomitable. He's 120 points. He is X-Men team ability. He is, oh my gosh. He basically sealed autoplay beyond the shadow of a doubt, because he takes up less than half your points. He is probability control, which is already amazing and sealed. He's got energy shield on those first 3 clicks if you want to take your time with him. He's got a phasing running shot basically on his first click with 11 attack, 4 damage. If you happen to be able to get a chance to use a Psychic Blast, use a Psychic Blast with the 11 attack, 4 damage. I mean, there's very few clicks on this character that are objectionably bad. There's a rough spot here where he gets some he gets a little into exploit weakness, flurry, toughness territory. This is kind of the part where you're hoping to get 1 or 2 damage onto that last click, where he has the nice combination of probability control and regeneration along with Indomitable. He's also 7 range. Like, if you get this in your common slot, you're a happy camper, because your rare slot could be poop. It's allowed to be trash at this point because you've got a good solid figure. I like when a figure comes out like this and like the Batman from Joker's Wild, where you can get a solid figure out of the common slot and you know that there's something in there. You don't have to pray for the super rare or the chase. That's kind of my thoughts on this one, although there is some high-end stuff in the set that is very strong beyond that. Tom, what are your thoughts?
I think that he has real potential to be a viable competitive piece, especially in the post-retirement era. We don't exactly know what retirement is going to include or not include, but I think that we are all strongly suspecting that at least the teleporter, if not the teleporter and the round table, will still be around. And as an ID call-in, one of my favorite qualities is having some kind of protection. So the fact that he's got stealth in conjunction with invulnerability and potential ESD gives him some protection. And the second thing I love about it is prob, because you can then bring somebody in and use your prop to support them further. And the third thing I love is being able to follow up when you do have the 1 action token still being useful to your team. And he's a very good primary attacker for your team, in addition to being good for calling people in. And even when you're setting that aside, he's got a lot of good upfront powers, but it doesn't, if he gets knocked off, he's got a deep enough dial that he's not just going to likely get KO'd immediately by a one-shot unless it's by a truly big epic threat. And as you say, I really like him. He reminds me of a bit of an older school dial where there's some variation as you make your way through. It's a nice, generally encapsulating the spirit and the essence of the character, while still being competitive and having usable options on pretty much every click of the dial. So I think he's great. I really look forward to him. He's both great from a fan of the character and great from a usefulness in competitive play, I think.
All right. Jay, anything you want to add on?
Not really, except for the fact that, his mobility is already great to start. Adding, again, the X-Force ATA for sidestep is just so good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Overall, a really good figure and God, still can't. I'm shocked. We're going to be giving copies of these away because he's so common.
I love it.
Already done it.
Valuable commons are the best.
Yeah. And going to the other end of the spectrum, we get into the super rare. The man who looks similar, Mr. Strife. Strife is Mutant Liberation Front, Armor, and Future keywords. Legacy Virus is his trait. When Strife is KO'd, choose a named keyword. Opposing characters with that keyword are dealt penetrating damage equal to half their current click number. This can't be ignored. Then he's got special damage power or attack power on his first 3 clicks. Mind over matter. Strife can use telekinesis. He can use it as a free action if he's been given a non-free action this turn. And then he's got a special damage power on clicks 1 and his last 3 clicks. So he only doesn't have it for 2 clicks. Dawn of a New Age. Strife can use leadership and wit. He comes at 135 points, 7 range. Tom, you got the lead on Strife.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That Legacy Virus immediately makes your ears perk up. But it also, of course, puts a huge target on his head, since you want to take him out while your guys are fresh, since that minimizes the potential damage that they'll take for doing it. And because he's already almost 50% of your team, presumably taking him out is also going to be a huge blow to your opponent's force anyway. So, nice to place him next to somebody else who's also a take him out immediately type threat and forces Sophie's choice in your opponent. But I don't love the fact that front dial, all he's really doing is, fairly middling attack, considering he doesn't have movement attack to start. He doesn't have a fantastic attack value or any kind of prop control. Outwit leadership and TK make him a support piece. I guess the idea here is that he's throwing the other guys forward and helping from the back so that they could do the damage that's necessary to ensure that if anybody does take out Strife, then the corresponding legacy virus threat will do a lot of damage to the opposing team. That's the concept. I just don't know if it's going to work that well. We'll see. It's again, it really makes me perk up, that legacy virus thing. It forces your opponent to a choice, and anything that forces your opponent to a choice is a valuable thing to have in this game. Not enough good can be said about when he gets running shot pulse wave, or even a high defense regeneration with heavy damage output for pulse wave. Good options. Love the back half of his dial, but he just seems a little rich for that. But I could be wrong. Like, I will need to wait and see.
Jay?
He can be an interesting ID card call-in character with his power action, then TK if you want to do strategic stuff. Even if you have a character who doesn't move an attack on their own, like a Nick Fury, you might want to call them in, do the attack, and then free TK them to make them disappear if they can't do that on their own, like a Green Arrow or other character could. The trade's good, although it's hard to like a mechanic that involves a character half your force getting KO'd. It's like the Hydra dude from Nick Fury, except he is half your team. And the just actual stats on the top dial, 10-3 without Wit, are not really good enough. He's very polarizing, that's for sure.
Yeah, he falls into the fun category for me, where I looked at him and said, oh, in fun games, I'm going to have so much fun with this guy. But when it comes to the competitive metagame, it's just, I kind of look at him and go, I kind of pass him off. So I want him to work, but I just, I don't see it, much like Tom. So, all right. So now that we've gone over the things that we know dials for, et cetera, like that, let's talk about some of the stuff that's been added to the con pool coming around the corner for Worlds. And I'm not sure if is the Nationals as well, Jay? Do you know, or do you know if Nationals is going to have the new con stuff or no?
I'm going to look that up right now, but you can do other stuff.
In the meantime, we're going to get it's really just images. We just lost Tom. Oh, no. No, Tom, no. But in the meantime, while Jay's doing that, we got our first look at the Bebop and Rocksteady, which is actually a duo figure. Well, it's rather two figures on a base because it has not got the duo attack. It's 6 range, 2 targets. It's got some kind of improved something. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be based on the cartoon Bebop Rocksteady. There he is. Hi, Tom. We missed you. But this is going to be, I believe, one of the purchasables, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, I'm going to if it's available for purchase, I'm going to be buying it. I'm guilty of that. So, anyone else? And again, we don't have dials to go off of, so we'll see what's up. Tom is having some sound issues as far. So here's hoping. Anyway, so yeah, purchasable, Bebop Rocksteady. No idea what the points are. Anybody excited for this, Jay?
I'm not a Turtles guy, sadly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I found a link to Canadian Nationals 2017 on the Win, but it's password locked, so it's not really open yet. And although this is going to be available at U.S. Nationals, that's not really saying much because that's just Worlds. So not quite sure.
All right. While Tom is dealing with the sound, let's go next to the Cyber Shredder. Very cool looking. As a Turtles guy, again, I am excited for the Bebop Rocksteady. I just feel like I wish this could have been the Nicktoons one as that duo. But now that means that they owe me a 4th Turtle set with those two. But yeah, Cyber Shredder, kind of spindly looking, weird looking figure. Yeah. So Jay, any thoughts you want to add to, or are you, again, is this going to be one of those things where it's like not a Turtles guy, not really super excited unless the dial is there?
Maybe not, because a lot of the new Shredders are really good. And the original Shredder is a piece that I actually own because he is just so cool. I guess it really depends on dial and just basically what he does. Maybe if I can play a relatively cheap Ninja Turtle villain stuff theme from the actual sets while I happen to own this con, I would play it, but not really looking for it.
All right. And then we have, okay, so on this one, what's new? Doomsday, purchasable, I believe, right?
He comes out at Gen Con, yeah, $15 purchasable.
Plastic Man and Zeus. We've seen the Bat Knight already. There's a Colossal Sinestro. I forgot to grab the pic of that. But the Colossal Sinestro remake. If you've seen the original sculpture, you've seen what this one kind of looks like. We just don't know what the dial looks like, and it does have a Colossal Retaliation dial as well. But anyway, Zeus, Plastic Man, Doomsday. Jay, excitement level for you?
Yeah, I guess I should mention that you can see the Plastic Man. I think it's at 80 on another picture. Zeus has Quintessence Mystic, so he won't have the Divine Aura trait, but he has 9 range triple targets, which should go well with his appropriate energy explosion. Mm-hmm. I hope. Not as excited for the sculpt, but apparently that's from a Gail Simone comic, which means I'm more okay with it. Plastic Man does look good. Excited for another go at him, and otherwise don't really care about Doomsday, but he'll probably be a big dumb bruiser if I can get my hands on him.
Yeah. Plastic Man is going to have, I also think I saw the PD team ability on him. So if he's of a reasonable point value, you could add to the overall factors that your team could be going for it. Then we got good glimpse at this Marvel Knights. Oh, sorry. I'm kind of excited. Who am I kidding? I'm excited for all the con stuff. Shut up, Jason. All right. So next we have the Marvel Knights Fast Forces, which includes Luke Cage, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Elektra, Punisher, and Jessica Jones. Jay, your thoughts on this? Because we all know what my thoughts are on this.
That is a really, really good-looking Danny Rand. I'm very excited for him.
Yeah.
I'm particularly interested to see what they end up doing with Jessica Jones, because we know the last one had the 2 dials where she looked like Jewel, but was really just the investigator. So interesting to see how this one will turn out. And always good, excited to see a Punisher.
Yep. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I can't wait to see what another attempt at Luke Cage looks like in the long term. Hopefully one day, though. It's such a hard character for them to put together and make interesting, so I can't really fault them on that, to be brutally honest. But next up, we got a good look at the Spider Carnage, which is based on one of the few stories with Ben Reilly, leading the charge of Spider-Man, and he was possessed by the Carnage symbiote. He's gonna have a slash marker, but that's the thing. Jay, are you a Spider fan, Carnage fan?
I am a Spider fan and collector, and 2 cons in the same year is great.
Yeah, because Spider-Gwen. That's right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to ending up grabbing him, because the last Ben Reilly we got was a little underwhelming, so hopefully another shot at him with the Spider-Man family here will be a little better.
All right. Awesome. And we got another look at the Muhammad Ali Superman purchasable. Can't wait to get my hands on this one. I can't wait to use Muhammad Ali.
It'd be interesting to see if this map or box ring ends up being legal in any capacity other than some sort of scenario.
a map add-on or a special object or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that would be pretty cool, actually. And then, of course, we got a quick look at the boxes. This is around the corner, man. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is out in April. Oh, my goodness. Then we have Avengers Defenders War around the corner in May. So, thank God for my new job. To say the least.
Earlier today, we did see a Game Trade magazine ad for the Guardian set, so there was a very, very, very tiny baby Groot. That was nice to see.
Oh, cool. All right, so we've gotten through all those figures. Let me close all these windows. Oh, man. Oh, I'm on game mode here. I'm double-clicking, automatically double-clicking. That could have gotten bad. Holy smokes, so many questions. All right. I'm a hot mess right now as I'm trying to figure out where we're going to go next. All right, so we've already talked about your go-ahead at the WKO, which was really interesting, and thank you very much for sharing. And I want to talk about next my experience with Deadpool. As I discussed earlier in the episode in my weekend review, I did get a chance to play with some of the stuff for my unboxing. And in that experience, I learned a couple things about the set that are both exciting and terrifying to me. One of which, and the first one I want to do is, if you're a judge for the sealed, or if you're planning on playing for the sealed, be ready, because some silly stuff is going to happen. And as a judge, you're going to turn to a player asking a question and be like, yeah, man, that's how that works. You're just going to be turned back with a, because there's going to be a lot of that, trust me, with the Deadpool set. Like, the sealed alone, even the pre-releases, there's going to be some nonsense occurring. And even some of the stuff that we've seen, some of the stuff that I've had a chance to have, once you get it on the board and you start asking, like, is that really how that works? Wow! Specifically in the sense of Tippy Toe, Chipmunk Hunk, and Mistress Death, or is it Mistress Death or Mistress Death. Oh my goodness! Because for one, Mistress Death, as long as you have something on the board, she ain't going anywhere. Your opponent's gonna be scoring a lot of points. So as long as you can get rid of his board, you might still pull out a win where you're down on points. Who knows?
Crazy awesome! I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. And Tippy Toe was another one that was just like, well, for one, Tippy Toe's defense is unnecessarily high. Add in the fact that she's tiny size, in addition to the fact that she's got super senses. For 25 points, I tied up 210 points worth of figures for like 5 turns. And that was all during the setup to kill Feral with a 4 damage crit hit with Tippy Toe, because Mistress Death hit Feral beforehand for 2 damage in a close combat attack, put the decay token on her, and then Tippy Toe attacked, critically hit. The damage dealt is then doubled to 4. If Mistress Death gets a touch on you, I'm sorry, guys. Just write that character off or get the heck out of Dodge, because I had to read it twice. There's no way getting rid of that token. Chipmunk Hunks, Leap, Climb, and then Quake on a 20-point figure is bonkers. It's literally throwing 20 points away to do up to, like, you could do like 8 damage in a single go. You can do up to like 4 if you get them on off of elevated terrain, right? Like, Chipmunk Hunk has a place there that's going to just surprise people, especially when you include him in ideas with, I don't know, the Jean Grey to free action, TK him up. Then he moves 8 squares. That's a 16 square reach to free action Quake with. But what I do want to go into a little bit more detail about, and what I think is going to strike a chord in the meta, is the shifting focus Deadpool and I only got a chance to try 2 of them. And that was the uncommon Bang Bang one, which the rare teleporting one. Now, the rare teleporting one we've known about since the Game Trade magazine. We've known what he does. It's kind of a cool thing. I do have the dials up here from Jay's spoiler article. Or you're curating this one, right?
The evidence thread, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for keeping that all together, so that I didn't have to pull out the cards and scan them and everything like that. So this uncommon Deadpool, a little unassuming, but it's all in the traits and the extras. He's got ignores hindering for line of fire. He is shifting focus, and he's got this bang 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 trait, which says when Deadpool hits 1 or more opposing characters with a range attack, put a bang token on this card. Once per turn, you may remove a bang token to re-roll Deadpool's attack roll. In addition to which, his first and most of his clicks, except for 2 of them, have sidestep. Now, that bang, 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 bang trait is great. It's probability control for your range attacks. And if it hits, it's perpetual, which is great. Add in the teleporting one, who has this ability to take a free use phasing teleport normally, or as a free action where you get to roll a die. That means you can get 3 to 8 squares with these 2 combined alone of free movement. I'm not kidding about that. Free movement. I already love shifting focus as a mechanic. This put me over the top, and I am going to be this is my call out, people. I am using this Deadpool deal with it.
It's awesome.
Just based on these 2.
Yeah. It's so good that they all have different keywords, so you have so much variety of how you can play them.
It's just awesome. Such a great idea.
Absolutely. And to put the icing on top of it all, this set where it's strong is fun when it's strong. So along the lines of the Devil Dinosaur, where we said Devil Dinosaur is strong and fun. So he's meta, but also a lot of fun to play with and against.
Mm-hmm.
This whole set, when things go right, both me and Aiden were laughing. People had to check on us to find out what was so funny. And it was just like this game of Heroclix. Nothing about it makes sense, and it's absolutely great. And I'm super excited about the set and what it can do for the metagame as a whole. It's going to be good to see an environment that's competitive, but full of laughter. And I think that's something that's been missing for a little bit in this current Fausty environment. That the metagame right now it's really hard to play in, but once play returns and this set is there to help it along, oh my gosh, what a fun game it's going to be.
Cool.
So I just kind of wanted to bring that to the Metal Lab for you guys. It's been a while since I've really had to throw things out for you guys. And I felt the last time I was on the show was a little off my game. So I wanted to share that experience with you because I've kind of been hiding a lot of my experiences with the set so far. Anything you guys want to say about that while I kind of muddle around here?
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that it does look like it's going to be a tremendously fun set without sacrificing playability. And I agree there's a lot of interesting stuff that will be a bit of a head scratcher on how to deal with, and by and large, that's neat. I'm really excited for Mistress Death. And I do think the shifting focus Deadpool, they've done such an incredible job with it that it will be hard to imagine him not showing up all over the place. And I certainly hope it's a harbinger of more things to come, because I really like that about it. No, it doesn't feel yet like it's going to be something that I'm going to be real tired of seeing. I know it'll be really competitive, but I don't yet feel like it's doing anything that feels cheap in the way of sort of, a Faust or a Nick Fury that just have an effect, which feels to me cheap. Faust says, you can't do anything except this very specific thing. Nick Fury says, that power that you have that seems to have designed no way to outwit it or get around it or whatever, you don't have anymore. Like those to me they're extremely powerful, but they feel, I don't know, they feel cheap. No, nothing in this set so far feels cheap to me. It just feels really interesting.
All right. Jay?
If I recall correctly, there's more shifting focus in Avengers Defenders. That's something to look forward to, that they're continuing.
Very excited.
Strong mechanic.
Yeah. And again, it's a strong mechanic without being unfun. Sorry, carry on, Jay.
Any set that makes a competitive Howard the Duck is a good set.
Very true.
Honestly, though, when I did use Howard the Duck, I was able to use his power once effectively, and I used it a total of 3 times the whole game. But part of that was the distribution of powers that Aiden had versus distribution of powers that I had. His powers didn't quite match up at times with powers that I had, and that's going to be a thing that certain characters will help the Howard the Duck be great with. Things like Jakeem Thunder or somebody possessed with one of the current entities is going to help that further along, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of add on to that, I just want to make sure there's no more other questions, because I'm using this time to chit chat about it to collect questions from the chat as well, guys. If you're watching right now, put in big capital letters the word question before your question if you want it to hit the show, because right now the chat's wild. I can't keep track of it, so I need that in order to catch your questions while we're in there. But in the meantime, Tom, you had a topic you wanted to discuss here, and let's let you lead the way on this one.
Sure, I kind of came up with this at the 11th hour, but it occurred to me while I was thinking about it, because I've been off the show for a little while, and I always listen to the show when I'm not on it, and I often listen to it when I am on it because I'm narcissistic. And I realized that because this show talks mostly about the competitive game, there's a tendency for us to kind of go off on things that feel to us, well, exactly what I was just saying, cheap. Pieces that seem like they enter into the competitive game by simply introducing a mechanic that seems not fully thought through or seems wildly unbalanced as compared to things that came before. But in a lot of cases, the things that get through to the very top competitive strata of the game need to be doing something that is distinct. They either need to be doing something, like they need to do things that we've seen before so much better than everything else that they're the only clear choice, but that's rare. What's more common is they do something that we've never really seen before, and therefore we all need to get our hands on it. And in a lot of cases, that can lead to some sour grapes when you've got pieces that feel like they are taking away from the spirit of the game, when they just feel like they're competitive at the expense of being enjoyable. And in order to try to work against that, I thought it would be interesting for each of us to choose one piece that we think is a representation of a piece that has had an impact on the big top-level strategic game. But by the same token, we still enjoy. We enjoy seeing it in front of us. We enjoy seeing it across the table, or at least we think it introduces something fun. Like, what are the pieces that we would like WizKids to take as the model when they're moving forward? Because we know the answer isn't Faust. But rather than spending all of our time complaining about the things that it's not, let's be positive and let's say more like this. And so I just thought it would be fun for us each to take a piece and tell why we think that it's both competitive but also good for the game. So, Jay, can we start with you?
I guess that they're already kind of doing somewhat of an archetype with this, where I guess Pick a Power more or less competitively was encapsulated by Super Scroll, where he got to pick one of each, but had a small drawback, which was basically a non-cost. But now we're getting more to the area where we're having characters who can pick powers, but only a certain kind or a certain type, and are limited. Like Element Man can only pick an attack power, and now even Jakeem can pick powers, but he still is somewhat balanced by the fact that he can only pick one of the particularly strong powers, and then one of any other kind of power. And unlike most of them, like Super Skrull, I never felt really deserved picking one of any kind of power. But when you have a character like Jakeem or Johnny Thunder, where they literally have a genie and should be able to do whatever the heck they want, it's good, but both of them are also more balanced out to not just be Super Skrull again. So I feel like pick a power character's versatility, I kind of guess shifting focus also goes with that somewhat, where you have one character with established powers, but you pick what you want to choose every turn. So I guess overall, just characters that can pick different stuff, but that are balanced out to not literally just be pick any power you want ever.
Yeah, you raise a very good point, because there was a time, we can all remember a time back in the game, obviously before special powers even, so obviously there were no pick a powers then, and then the sort of the growing pains of pick a power, where there were some that seemed too unbalanced in one direction or just not nearly good enough. Another power copiers were another one, like the old versions of Rogue and whatnot that were just horrible. Like Nico Manuro in retrospect seems absurdly overcosted. She could choose any power, but she had a horrendous dial for a huge number of points comparatively speaking. So you're right, they've made great progress on that. I don't know, Jason, what do you think? Either a mechanic like Jay did or a character that you think is a good example of what you'd like to see more of?
I mean, we're already seeing more and more of it, and I think I've said it enough times. I already said earlier in the episode, I love Devil Dinosaur, playing with, playing against, right? Mm-hmm. And to add on to the things I love playing, and I think I've already also said it earlier in the show, shifting focus. It's a great mechanic in the sense that not only are you picking powers, but you're picking characters. And it does also, it's one of those situations where you're rewarded for just knowledge. And that's what I really like about the competitive element of the shifting focus. What I like about the fun element is the pick the P, pick the power, pick the P, pick the power. Which one we're going to get? Which one is on the fig? Oh, yeah, look what I picked that one. And then just watching the confused face on some opponents sometimes, we're just like, why did he pick that one? What am I not realizing about that? Or is there a situation? Because sometimes you can catch your opponent off guard and they go, why? And I like catching my opponent kind of doing that. It's just like, that one? Why that one? And it's my thing. It doesn't happen very often. A lot of times people do see it coming. Other times they don't. But shifting focus for what it is, and the fact that I already like using as much of my collection as possible. Using it off to the side and using it with the same character means that I get that extra thinking element. Because I also, part of why I like playing with so many figures is there's a big tactical element, and I do like tactically playing, tactically thinking, reacting, making right choices. And shifting focus, I think, really exemplifies that. And that's one of the richest parts of a really good miniature tabletop game in general, the ability to tactically think, get your way through there, and have a game. And that's one of those things I want back in the game of Heroclix is the game. And I love competitive play, don't get me wrong. I just, right now, it feels like a little bit less of a game than it could be. And I kind of want that game back to a degree. Anyway, so yes, shifting focus, beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of my favorite mechanics. And honestly, it's coming back from Jason. Expect to see it if you're across the table from him in a competitive tournament. I might even have to drop the round table on the sole fact that Deadpool's sideline alone will disallow the use of the round table's ID cards. I need a new resource, guys.
Yeah. The Punisher fan's there for you.
That's true.
I think for my entry, I'm going to choose a character. And for me, it will be Mixie. Because I love Mixie. I think that he's made a wonderful positive impact in the game. When he first came out, the whole ability to pulse wave and add up to as many tokens as you want and everyone around almost was a bit unbalanced, to be honest. At times it feels like it is. It can be frustrating. But we all know at this point that Mixie is 5 clicks deep. We all know that a precision strike attack for 5 damage will get him. In order for him to be on that pulse wave click, he's got to be on the second click, so now he's down to 4 damage to KO. His defenses aren't absurdly high, and we all know where we have to stay away from him in order to kind of stay in the safe zone. The thing that makes Mixie so great for me is the fact that he's not reliant upon that one effect to be great. Size manipulation is so great, and I wish that we could see more of it. If I was going to campaign for a mechanic, it would be that, because being able to selectively change around the size of both your characters and your opposing characters for strategic purposes unlocks a whole new level of strategic depth that didn't necessarily exist there before, when everybody was simply the size that they are, or when characters simply have the ability to manipulate their own size. So the ability to manipulate others is a wonderful thing that introduces new tactics and ideas that we never thought of before without creating an unbalanced environment. And of course, dice replacement is the other thing that Mixie does, which no one else does. But I think that they've balanced it nicely. He starts with a die. He can replace it. If it's a die that can't be re-rolled, he can't be replaced. He can't replace it. So there's a bit of a balancing factor there. And the fact that he has to take power actions to get that die back at a later time, so once he's used it, means that he can't spam it too far and wide. And if you're using him primarily for that purpose, then you do kind of have to keep him behind the line so it doesn't stack so much with his pulse wave power. You're kind of taking one root of Mixie or the other root of Mixie. So I just think that he's a wonderfully designed character, very clever, very thoughtful, a lot of interesting powers that change the tactical landscape of the game without creating a sense of imbalance or just a sense of bad will. And I would love to see more of that. It feels appropriate for the character, and it feels good for the healthy success of the long-term metagame.
Awesome. Good thoughts. And guys, thanks for sharing all this. It's really good to see that positive element right now. And I think it's something we need a little bit more. I mean, I've already had recent issues with some of the negative elements in the game, and it's making me roll my eyes a lot. And that said, I'm not going to be part of the problem. That's just me. I'm going to continue to play the game the way I want to play the game and have fun with it. And I will also I will try to limit the begrudging of people using these elements, but at the same time, don't expect me to be super excited when you're using something that's just like, hey, you're fast. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Great. And also to add to your Mixie thing is, I mean, 2 things got mentioned in this talk that I brought to Canadian Nationals.
Yeah.
Shifting focus and Mr. Mix's Pitling. So, just to get a little insight into how fun Jason likes to have it.
Absolutely.
I'm a big clown when it comes to competitive play.
Part of the solution.
I'm always part of the solution. All right, guys. So before we get into the questions, I do want to talk to everybody about our Patreon program. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. You can donate to the channel to help us keep the editing tools alive, to say the least, right now. And that's really our only goal. But one of the things, in addition to that, I want to look forward to is I'm honestly trying to get another patron hangout together. Every time I do, something stupid happens. So we were going to do it last Friday, and something stupid happened with I can't remember exactly what it was, but something got kiboshed the whole thing. I can't set a date to it. If you are a patron right now, watch the Facebook, watch the patron wall. It might be within 2 days of it. It might be within 1 day. It might be within an hour of it occurring. Keep your eyes open. We're going to try to have a patron hangout soon. If you want to get on that, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. In addition, as far as the channel going forward, I am trying to find a way to add a casual element to the channel. Meta Lab, this is our meta thing. I have Metafix. I have now my outlets for competitive play. But my competitive is fun too, and I want to have fun. So I kind of want to start a casual element to the channel. Now, my schedule, of course, at work is rough. As I've discussed earlier, it kind of kiboshed me out of getting into Michigan because I need a little bit more plan time. So expect it to be recorded content at first until I can figure out a good live show to put together for strictly casual content. But we are working on it, guys. We promise. It's been actually a hot button issue in a lot of the comments about my videos, specifically the Shredder's returns and Deadpool unboxings, where when I was going through all the cards, people were like, yeah, they're meta play, but what about their non-meta play? And well, I mean, ultimately, when I say play it on the kitchen table, play whatever you want on the kitchen table, but at the same time, I should probably spend a little bit more time on the casual side of things on this channel somewhere. So I just kind of wanted to open that up to everybody. I'm going to do it at some point. It will be separate of this show. It will be separate of the Metafix. It will be its own thing, and it might be something stupid like Casual Corner, or I haven't come up with a name for it. Or
hey, I've already got Cartographer's Corner. How many corners do we need?
We got 2 corners and there's 4 corners in the room. Man. This room is not a circle, all right? We're
Maybe
not confusing
your room isn't.
But that said, now that I've insulted a whole province in Canada, let's take questions, the fan questions, as it were. We got a lot of them this time around. So also, if you're watching live on the YouTube, put in your chat window, big letters, capital letters, question. Then whatever you want to ask us, I will copy paste it at some point throughout the period. You have a couple minutes left before I'm just lost in the world. So get them in there now. But we're going to the Facebook first, where our first question comes from longtime watcher. It's been a while since I've heard from Mr. Christopher Smotherman. Hey. Favorite team you've seen in competitive play this year, and he also goes on to qualify it with his own. Mine would have been the recent top 8 finishing JSA team with Jakeem and friends, because I'm partial to Jakeem, as he's the most fun piece I've ever played with, but I'm sure he's on the top a lot of people's favorite figures list, so that's nothing new. Very cool team, though, and props to the guy who played it. I'm not sure if he's referencing Aubrey's team from...
No, there was another one.
There was another one? Okay. Yeah. So, but Jakeem is out there.
It was an Adam Hawkman team.
I'm going to say mine because I laughed when he made it. And it was Tom's, I'm going to build a team with stuff I actually own. Hey, Tom, how did that team do?
Could have done better. There's a reason why I borrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have created Tom Kerr, and it has been proven.
Not gonna lie to
that. I just wanted to say that.
No, by all means. I think you're right. You're spot on.
Tom, what was your favorite team you've seen in competitive play recently?
Well, I wish I could remember more specifically because it's been harder to keep up. I
played against it.
I know, but I'm trying to remember the specifics because it was one of the ones that I saw on the lists of teams from the recent WKO rounds, and somebody had managed to go a long way with a new shifting focus Superman team. I just can't remember the specifics of it. I'm trying to find it because I thought it was cool, and I was like, "Yeah, shifting focus, still a thing."
I didn't see that team. I'd probably have said that.
Exactly, and that's what made me so happy about it. So I'll try to find it, but. I know that's kind of a lame answer, but anyway, making shifting focus Superman work. Sure. I'm also
what is that?
Shumagorath from Adam Cole is also pretty cool, but Adam Cole can always be counted on to come up with cool ideas.
Yeah. One thing also worth noting is he sent me several pictures of the Shumagorath that he was playing with. Jay, was he still playing with the wig?
It was Schumacher Trump, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to go see if I can find it while Jay talks about it.
No, sorry. It was Trumpagorath.
Trumpagorath, yeah.
That makes more sense,
yeah. My answers obviously said Jakeem JSA team and or Aubrey's team.
Okay, cool. You gave me no time to go picture hunting, Jay. You're the worst vamper ever. I love you.
Right? Yeah, I can't remember. There was like 6 figures on this. The other JSA team was like Jakeem, Green Lantern, Adam Hawkman, and I think a duplicate of one of those, or I can't remember. But there was like a 5 or 6 man JSA team, which is always good. And Aubrey plays second at Whippy with Jakeem, Dr. Fate, the new one, who has a really good JSA trait, which is a prob, but you can choose, or you only roll 1 die, which can be very effective when you're sharing all those 18s, as well as the Green Lantern, Box, Witch, which sadly broke the JSA theme, but still maintained mystical theme, which is okay, and a couple ID cards. And I played against it at the time, and it was quite effective. And I was considering playing a modified version of it at Michigan myself, but dumping the Witch and then adding in the full box instead of partial to unload it to give those low point JSA guys some really good stats.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to find out why we don't do audio content.
Ooh.
I lost that thing. I hate you.
I loved the second he showed it to me. It made me smile. It made me not care about having to miss the event. It was quite fantastic. I loved it. All right. So that was Christopher Smotherman. Next up, got to refresh here because there's a question missing. Anyway, and we're gonna make it official. It's been a while since I've had a chance to do this.
Awesome.
Stockhouse, stamp it.
Well done. Gotta get ink at some point.
Yeah, I know. I swear, it's dude. I was just telling Jay earlier before we went live, that the ink pad that this stamp, like, look at this compared to my face, like, Jesus.
Oh yeah,
it's huge, and my head is gigantic. For those who don't realize, the ink pad required for this in my house is a nightmare of danger.
That's true.
Because I have 2 little creatures that will get into it, and then I will be wearing it along with them, I'm sure. With that said, Chris Stockhouse does remind us that it is a holiday in the U.S. too, as is President's Day. It was nice seeing Jay make top 8 Saturday. There was some great competition in Michigan Saturday, and I wish I had been more aggressive and had better luck on the dice side of things. And I was also apparently playing the wrong robot with Justin, according to the top 2 results from the event. Krang made an aggressive showing at this particular tournament, folks. No matter, it was a great time, and Jay has his new stamp that when I'm absent again, you guys have got to start using. And Jay has his new stamp, and Mike has already requested his. Tom, let me know what you want yours to say. A couple of retirement questions for the Metal Lab today.
Ooh.
1, does Krang / robots in general stay viable without Justin? 2, is everybody going to switch to Justice League teleporter tech? 3, is free damage going to rule the game after retirement? By free damage, I mean damage that occurs from non-attacks, bombs, fire markers, shredders, vans blowing up, more poison, etc. Ooh, that's a post-retirement world. Now, is Krang viable without Justin?
No.
Something wrong with Jean Grey all of a sudden?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say yes, because I agree. Jean Grey, any other TKer, I mean, we'll still have Mercury there for the absolute cheapest TK in the game that is that is keyworded already. It's obviously a huge difference, right? Krang is viable in a very different way, but he's also, segueing into the second question about the teleporter. Teleporter is still going to be around, and Krang can pull in some real heavy hitters and can probably survive long enough to let them do some damage and then have him follow up to do the finish off, or vice versa. Let him take some damage, because Baxter will still be around to heal him up. So Krang's viability as a survivable piece will still be there. He just won't have quite the punch that he had, but he'll be up against a lot less stuff that needs as much of a punch and can benefit from being from a precision strike. He won't be to the same extent. I think that's probably fair to say. But within his point bracket, I still can't think of anyone who's really doing it that much better. I think, in my opinion.
Jay?
I think it depends on how deep the cuts go, because depending on what does and doesn't go, it can be a big difference. Like if Nick Fury does go, KC chases are more viable, and they can slug it out with Krang for sure. I mean, look, Superman could one-shot or all but, yeah, almost one-shot him. So it really depends on the specifics. And there's also other variables to consider, like, all the free damage, like 90 points gets you potentially 2 penetrating damage a turn now, plus whatever you play. Red Tornado may still be around, and I know that Chris loves Red Tornado. So it really depends on how exactly the cuts do go. But I think Krang overall will be less viable without the extra attack and the extra mobility from the attack. And then you also lose the rock and or box for extra healing from Sloth and potentially the flurry. So it really does depend on how cuts go.
I think the teleporter is going to become the thing in answer to the second question, at least in the short term. And I think that also keeps Krang viable as a high point piece that is survivable with the right setup. But yeah, that's what I think. Again, we keep having to say the same thing. It depends on how deep the cuts go.
Yeah.
But I have every reason to believe that that's going to be the only resource going forward. And if it is, then I think it's better for the points.
Stream intelligence.
Oh, I'm sorry, and the Punisher van. Maybe I should qualify this as the only viable resource going forward. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, throwing shade.
Hear that? Was that fireworks or was that shots fired? Just to add on, if anything, if WizKids continues to follow the rule of 2, expect another year of Fury. In fact, expect another year of Quinjets and round tables because Age of Ultron was disallowed in the year that it came out at Worlds because it came out I think a week. Age of Ultron started maybe a week or 2 before Worlds.
I still think they're going to cut it.
But subsequently, we might see the same thing that they did with Guardians of the Galaxy just become a trend where they say, Worlds, you're allowed up to this. After Worlds, this is gone. If this becomes the trend, then we might be saying goodbye to Age of Ultron post-Worlds as the extra set that goes. Nick Fury is unfortunately stuck with us for another year unless they go for the deep cut that very rarely happens when we predict it. I've said if they go deep this, I think 8 times in my life, and never once has the if they do this ever occurred. So I think we do have another year of Nick Fury. Let's kind of get ourselves prepped mentally for that. Feel free to wish that it was gone by all means. But yeah, anyway. But at the same time, it will just mean another year up to the next Worlds. But that does mean now more WizKids official tournaments. Non-attacking damage tech is something I've been trying to use for a long time. It's Red Lantern battery, I did it. Not rolling to attack, I planned on doing it. In fact, if I was going to make it to Michigan, PJ Bolin was the guy who won, was willing to loan me a Shark Shredder to make my Shredder Elite team work.
Nice.
I plan on not rolling dice to attack as frequently as possible because, God, does it ever not work for me a lot of the time. And it's usually in the 0 hour that the dice just really want to make a fool of me. I've had dice go well for me for a long tournament. Rock Canada Cup is an example. I got second place. I lost 1 game. It was the last game against Tom Kerr. And a lot of that, I mean, Tom's team did what Tom's team does, and my team needed certain things to occur with dice, and it just didn't. So I'm not a man who likes to rely on dice and knows that he's lost when he does. So yes, non-attacking tech is something I expect to see. I expect to use. And it's always been a thing. Everybody's trying to dodge the attack roll. I think we've been trying to do it since Poison came out. I mean, let's go back to the days of a team called Lamp.
Yep, very true.
So it was, and Lamp used to have tech with Outwit because that Joker that was very popular with the Lamp teams had Outwit. So the Outwit would be outwitted, and then you wouldn't be able to stop the Mastermind because Precision Strike didn't exist at the time. So anyway, I've gone at length. Was there anything you guys needed to add before I move on to the next question?
Okay.
I think I already said that free damage is good. Yeah.
Free damage is free. If I don't have to roll an attack roll, it's even better to me. Oh, wow. Oh, drop me a beat, Tom. Let's go.
What happened? Oh, yeah, right.
I accidentally rhymed.
Without being aware of the fact.
Oops. Mike Bockley, happy holidays and post WKO, friends. It was great to see Mike and Jay at Eternal Games for the war in WKO. I hope the dice and I gave Jay served him well. Also, big shout out to all the fine players like Adam Cole, PJ Bowl, and Chris Stockhouse for their fun teams and spirits that they brought to the event too. I, on the other hand, had a blast doing battle royales and came away with some good swag like a Pizza Face, Samurai Spider-Gwen, Spider Knight, and Man-Bat. The recent picks from the New York Toy Fair that showed off some upcoming con figures, Marvel Knights, Fast Forces, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Grab Feed, and it looked really promising. What new random Fast Forces would each of you like for WizKids to make to surprise you? Great seeing you all there. Hope Tom can spoil more of Mike's team strategies in future map segments. Owned.
as much as I can.
I'm gonna be wacky. I want to see this in a Fast Forces because I don't want it to spoil my set. Give me the power pack in a Fast Forces. Just surprise me. Boom, here's the power pack. Wait, what? And just be done with it. Don't even put them in the set. Don't character match them or anything like that. Just put the power pack in a Fast Forces. Be done with it. Never speak of them again because I think we've spoken of them before, and I don't want to speak of them again after putting them in a Fast Forces. Because honestly, that was the only thing I could think of that came up to the top of my head that hasn't been made or hasn't already been announced. Because that Marvel Knights one has my boys in it. So
we've had power pack before, to be fair.
That's what I mean, but put it in the Fast Forces and make them just in the Fast Forces. Don't make me pull them.
I guess if we're going with our dreams that will never be real, then
you have to be surprised by it too, because he does want WizKids to surprise you with it.
Sure. Well, WizKids would surprise the heck out of me if they made a Pantheon Fast Forces. Remember,
there we go.
The Incredible Hulk, circa late '90s or so, in the Peter David run, when the Professor Hulk became the leader of the Pantheon. We haven't seen like any of those guys, and that would surprise me.
Who's the girl who was always naked in front of the pool again?
Or the Oracle girl's name. I can't remember.
Either way,
terrible
put clothes on her
names.
and just give us the pool as an object.
No, just give like the steam, like make the sculpt just like the steam.
The steam over all the parts.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Remember Janet Pym Ultron? That's more or less what they did with her.
That's true. Yeah, you got the Janet Pym Ultron for the.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I remember actually the first time I saw any of those characters, it was Hulk Annual, one of the Hulk Annuals. It was the same annual with that had a really silly story with the Hulk and the Thing having an arm wrestling match. So
yeah.
So that was the first time I was exposed to Pantheon.
Honestly, I think it'd be cool. Like Agamemnon would be cool, and then you have like the ability to, when he dies, you create a pog of like little kid Agamemnon, or whatever. That'd be cool. I'd like it.
Okay.
If you really wanted to surprise me, we did get, I guess Tom already mentioned, the Pantheon.
We did.
They made the Greek gods in Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, come on.
No. If they could make...
No, Jay. No, wrong one.
If they made the Disney Hercules Greek gods Fast Forces, that would be so good.
That would be a surprise, I will say.
If I got a John Goodman Zeus and a James Woods as Hades, that would be really nice.
By that logic, then I would say the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers would be on the.
I couldn't think of anything. I'm terrible. Also, I got some beautiful JSA dice, metal dice this weekend from him. And I played with them all day, and they did pretty well, and had a good time with them. Although they were very loud, as metal dice will be, so I have to be very careful with them.
Yeah, metal dice can tend to just let people know you're rolling. It's something else to say the least. I'm Agamemnon, Achilles, Ajax, Atalanta.
Yes.
Delphi. That's who it was.
Yeah, it was Delphi. But I was thinking, because I made a bunch of these characters when I made my fantasy set Hulk like 5 years ago in the Creative Corner. I made an entire set. They made all the characters in the Pantheon. Atalanta was a cool sculpt, or a cool die.
Ajax was the one with the really big armor, right?
Yes, Ajax was the doofus in the huge armor.
Like literally dumb.
Yeah.
Like they wrote him so stupid.
They really did. No, Peter Davis the best.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry. Everybody got their answers in, right?
I found the set, Tom.
You found it? Oh my God, it still exists?
I found it. Yeah, I found it. Hulk Destruction.
Yeah. Okay. The internet. What a thing.
All right. We're gonna Jay, send me a link in the chat. I'm gonna put that in the description.
Yeah. This is what I want. You have to imagine. You have to remember that mechanically speaking, this was years ago, before Precision Strike, before a lot of things. I can't remember where we were at, but anyway, don't judge me too harshly. But next question.
All right. Charles L. Franklin wants to know, hey, is the Batman number 42 Batwing, it's a Batman set, number 42 Nightwing, worth buying for a Batman Incorporated team build? I don't spend much on it.
He's really bad.
I remember him being lousy.
Yeah. If the money is less than $5, it is a rare, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was bad then and he's bad now.
I mean, Batman Incorporated is a team you have to force, unfortunately.
Really good ATA, though.
Yeah. So it's not your ideal choice, but I mean, you might be running out of options at this point, I'm sure, which is why you're asking the question. He's not a fantastic figure. He's one of the few with flying, though, right?
Not sure.
I have to double check now. Because if he is one of the few with flying, that extra carry
he's a flyer. He starts with 8
way.
speed, and he drops to 6 very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that thing that if it's Batman Incorporated, you might need a little bit of extra mobility out of some of the guys, and if you're spending a couple points to get a flyer on your team,
taking as
not
many
terrible.
drugs as Grant Morrison, then go for it.
Batwing, yeah, 75 points. I've seen worse. I've seen better. He does have energy shield and toughness. He does have perplex. Not great, not bad. You could do better. You could do worse. Not much worse, though, to be brutally honest. All right. Oh my God. Jay, how many times did you copy it in there? Oh
no, it's different. There's like 5 different sections. For
but each one links to its own thread for the commons and uncommons and stuff.
Okay. All right. I'll deal with that later on, guys. It's not going to be in the description right now.
Put in any link, and all the other links will be connected to it. So.
Oh, okay.
But I would say use the set list and information link as the main one, since it introduces the new mechanics for the set.
All right. Awesome. That one will do. Okay. Next up, McConnell Lamar. What figures haven't shown up in the winter WKOs and recent rocks do you think could be viable in the competitive scene? Tom,
That's literally my job.
Tom, you said somebody used Superman, right?
Right. Yeah.
Superman. So that has been seen, just not enough.
It's been seen. I don't know if it's been that trend. At least shop done well enough to be registered in top 8s.
Yeah.
Was the question?
Dinosaur has fallen off, hasn't he?
He's fallen off a little bit, but I don't know. That give it time.
Yeah. Double Dinosaur.
Oh yeah, he kind of has.
His day in the sun will return.
Unfortunately, when I was at
my game,
I saw Derek playing this weekend. He was not playing it because in his words, they made Penguin the same thing but better and cheaper.
All right.
Just based on my previous Fringe article list, I'll say Chameleon because versatility is good and theme teams are good. And if you're playing one of his theme teams, you don't want to break theme and get your choice of characters. He's good.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Boom. Tom's nonsense. So Tom's set from Hcrealms is now officially in the description below, guys.
Right. From 2011. So this is before the Hulk. This is before no, it was before cards. It was after cards. It was before the Hulk set. It was before Oreo bases. I think it was before the Superman set. So it was right around the time of like the Captain America set.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it for the Facebook questions. So we're now moving into the.
Oh my god.
Tom, you wasted your time making an event dial? What's the matter with you?
There was a time
Kids
where
didn't do that.
we thought they could come back.
They could come back. They can happen. They're real. Oh my goodness!
There was also a Savage Hulk that was 201 points because the idea was to play him with Namor and Doctor Strange, and you would have an even 500-point team.
Yep. All right. So we're now moving into the YouTube question. Oh my God, I'm shaking my monitor all over the place. I'm sorry for anybody who's watching me do this all over the place. We're now moving into the YouTube questions. So get them in soon, guys, because we're wrapping up here as far as questions are concerned. But first off, KJ Foster, question/statement he led in this with. Glad to see Jay again. I guess you got to hang out with him in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Missed Jason and Tom. Sorry. I tried. It is not without effort. I really did try to. And Jay wants to know, did he support you guys? What does that mean?
What?
Yes. Did I support you guys?
He was wearing a Leafs jersey. It was great.
Nice.
There it is. There it is. I'm sorry about that, KJ. We don't usually wear our disappointment all the time. They're doing well this year, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
I heard a rumor. I don't know. I don't believe them most of the time.
It's okay.
All right. Next up, Dennis Flahr. I hope I pronounced your last name right. It's Flahr. Flahr. I'm going for. I'm thinking of starting to play Heroclix. How do you recommend I start? It's hard right now because there's okay. So first, you want to go to heroclix.com and find the how to play section because there is a rule book in there somewhere. Unfortunately, right now digitally is the best source of getting your rule book. There's PDFs and everything like that. Rule book, powers and abilities card. Then grab a fast forces or two. Find a friend. Because I suggest starting with a friend at all times. You always want a partner going in with this because it does take two to play this game. I don't suggest anybody go straight into the tournament scene in any game for that matter. Let's just not kid ourselves. I would never tell a person who plays Magic the Gathering, day one, go to a tournament. That's nonsense, to say the least. Because one of two things is going to happen. They're going to lose and they're going to get upset and realize and think that they can't get better, which is always false. Or they're just going to get overwhelmed with what's actually out there. So I do suggest that. Now, I'm also sure that there's a bunch of the Ninja Turtle starter sets out there. Never take those figures outside of your house, but learn how to play with that Ninja Turtle starter set. Because there's a lot of tools in there that can help you learn how to play Heroclix. But do not take them anywhere but that kitchen table where you learn how to play the game. And then just do it, and then sign up on the win.wizkids.com, I think it is. Sign up on there and go to the rules forum because you'll have rules questions, and 80 to 90% of them will be there. And then from there, once you think you have a good handle on the rules, go to a tournament with low expectations, get into it. Start learning from all these other people who are playing. But I honestly don't suggest anybody jump straight into the fire of the tournament scene. I suggest starting with a friend or a family member or a girlfriend or whatever, just to start to learn how to play. Then start buying some packs, develop a collection, then go to a store. If the tournament scene is a little overwhelming for you at first, it is for a lot of players. You'll need a little bit of patience at first. But these players are usually great, and a lot of venues don't just strictly run strict competitive play, which is a really great thing that Heroclix does have is the baseline to be able to just say, here's our competitive line, now we're not going to use that. So that's my personal suggestion. Is there anything you guys want to add on to that? Because it's really hard right now to get a new player into the game, and there's a lot of ideas for it. So let's get them all out on the table for this player right now.
I think it depends a lot on whether or not you already have, friends or acquaintances that are playing the game. Since the very best way, as Jason points out, is to have somebody that's with you, kind of guiding you through it. The game is not that difficult on the surface of it. I mean, the basic mechanics of how to move and how to take actions and how the different powers work within the pack are not that difficult within themselves. It's all their interactions and all the specifics that arise, because virtually every piece has some kind of specific special powers or traits to deal with. The other side of that coin, though, that I've found, at least with teaching people, is that the game, the how much fun the game can be is not immediately obvious when you start from the ground up, because again, the mechanics are so straightforward. So it's easy when you first start to just think that the people with the highest numbers will be better than the people with the lowest, and the people with the more the more blatantly offensive powers are more useful than the ones that are more situational. In a way, even at the very highest level, that still holds to an extent. But it's the strategic depth and complexity that arises from really knowing the game well that makes it an engaging experience. So my piece of advice would be, don't give up. Like Jason said, find a buddy. If you already know somebody, then great, work with them. If you don't, then I wouldn't be as worried, perhaps, as Jason is stressed about jumping into the tournament scene. Just don't jump into it with an expectation of competition. It also depends on what your background. Like if you're already a gamer, then you might go into it with more of an expectation than you might if you're not. I mean, I certainly wasn't. I'd never done anything outside my own home when I started playing Heroclix. So I never showed up with an expectation of winning or even an expectation of performance. I really just showed up in an effort to figure out how to play because I wanted to see if it was for me. And it turned out to be as much. But I think it's very individualized. It depends on your background. It depends on your friends. Get a few pieces. Don't invest hugely from the get-go, because if you do stick with it, then before long you'll find people have unbelievable amounts of extra commons and uncommons that they just want to dump. So
I got a couple boxes. Anybody?
Yeah, exactly. So do I. I think we all do. So don't invest super heavily financially from a get-go. Just see if it's for you. But don't be put off in the early goings, because I think that this game, unlike some games where it's at fun at first and you realize that the strategy it doesn't have the depth that you might want. This game has tremendous strategic depth, but you have to have your feet firmly implanted in it before you fully recognize that or really get a chance to play with it. That's what
Jay, anything you want to add on to the pile?
Generally, getting a starter set is a good way to start because the figures, points work together well, and that's where they're designed. Hopefully there's a pack. Object tokens and terrain tokens, whatever you need. And I always recommend starting off with characters that you like as opposed to going for power, because that's the best way that you want to learn the game. I mean, you want to have fun to start and understand how you can play your favorite characters and play them well. And I guess don't expect to win immediately is always a good rule to keep in mind because of the complexity. The base standard game is relatively not complex compared to some stuff out there, but the special powers just mess it all up with their complexity and interactions. And hopefully new rulebook soon, so you'll be able to get that and learn easier. So that's something to look forward to if you're a newer player. But that's pretty much all I have.
And if you are a previous gamer, games you've already played beforehand, if you've played Magic the Gathering, culture shock, you're in for it. If you've played Warhammer or other such miniature games, there is a level of culture shock in the fact that you play with this and you're in Warhammer and you're going to be playing with this kind of little bit right there. Just a little bit of it. So if you do have some previous gaming experience, it'll help. I use Magic the Gathering as the competitive play comparison, but Warhammer is the more similar game in the fact of the idea of a 3D terrain and distance movement and that kind of dice-based combat. So that's kind of where my background came from prior to this game, as a matter of fact. So, all right. Next up, Adam Cole wants to know why he is so fun to play against. I think it's because it's like playing with a friend. I've only met him a few times, but I feel like I'm friends with the guy for years. And that's great. I mean, probably part of it is because of the channel. I'm not sure, but he's a friendly guy. He plays very unique teams, that's for sure. He doesn't care what the meta is. He's playing his stuff. And what he plays is competitive. It's good. It's strong. You do have to put it all out there in order to beat him, because I did have to put it all out there to beat him. And he will capitalize on mistake like a good player will. And it's just, man, what a tight game I had with him. So he's a great player. He's a lot of fun to play with, and his ideas are very unique, and that really goes a long way. Tom, have you had a lot of fun playing with Adam?
I've only played against him a couple times, and I have had a lot of fun with it. The two immediately to mind came the joke answer, which is it's fun to play against Adam Cole because every now and again it's nice not to have to work that hard. But the actual answer is that, well, exactly, it's like playing with a friend. He doesn't assume anything about the person that you are or the mood that you're in or whatever. He plays the spirit of the game in that moment. So you're playing the game. He's not trying to talk to you too much. He's not being cold. He's responding to the way in which the flow of the game is going for you at that time. So it's great. It's exactly like playing with somebody who's fun and somebody who wants the game to go well. And so you react accordingly to the person that you're sitting across and the place that they're in that day, and they're in that mindset and so forward. And I really appreciate that. It's organic.
All right, Jay.
I guess as far as us Torontonians, whatever Ontarians go, the unique teams feels like much more like one of our locals, where you have people playing their own tech and their own stuff and playing what they want to play. So I guess it feels like to us a lot more like playing somebody that we've just known for years, like has been previously said. And I appreciate anybody who has Buddha action tokens.
That's true, too.
Very true. All right. Next question's a doozy, but I think I have the really good answer for it. Aaron Cantu, and that's 2 clicks from KO. Check them out on Podbean. I don't know where the new locale is. I have to actually do a lot of updates for that.
They do have and they do have it clipped on their Facebook site. So if you just visit them on Facebook, they'll redirect you quickly. So.
Yeah. So check them out. That's 2 clicks from KO. Check them out on Facebook. They'll have their thing linked. But he asks, why does Deadpool get such ridiculous fan service from WizKids when other better, he puts their better characters don't? And it's one specific word, and this is coming from a game designer: freedom. When you are free to do whatever the hell you want, you give it your all. And when I get free, like even in the world, like I don't make tabletop games, I make video games. But when somebody offers me a degree of freedom that is just unheard of and I've got no limitations, I'm allowed to get away with practically murder, that is game designer playground. Because then you get to go, yes, I get to do anything I want, and all I got to do is work within the restrictions of the game. Okay, let's go nuts. And trust me when I say this set is pure evidence of that. They took it and they ran with it good, to say the least. And from a game design perspective, you will see that start to leak into the design of things like this. If you get a certain amount of freedom that you've been hoping for a long time, like a Deadpool, like a nonsense type character that this guy offers, it's just like when comic writers say they enjoy writing villains better than heroes. Heroes, you're constricted to the good. Villains, you can do whatever you want. You can even make a villain a good person who just does it the wrong way, right? And that's still a villainous type of person. You can really get a lot of freedom with it. So when writers say they like writing villains, it's a level of freedom. And I think that's why when you see Deadpool sets come out, they take it and they run with it and they go crazy with it and they go fan servicey out the wazoo, because the fan service is what lets them get away with game design murder. That's my point of view on it and why I think that happens. As well, a movie that cost $50 million that made $700 million is probably good in the banks to somebody. So I don't know, Tom.
I think you're right, and I think that kind of a related, if not exactly the same point to the question of freedom, is that I think that when somebody's job is to create dialogue for characters, and they spend an awful lot of time, creating character after character after character that in a lot of ways are conceptually similar. They have different sort of powers and different sort of inspirations, but in any case, they're trying to be a good use of whatever tactic they're using. The ones that stand out in that process, the ones that perhaps are the most enjoyable and thus that get the most thrown into them, are the ones that are further off the beaten path as far as their application is concerned. So that's where you get characters like, well, Mixie, we mentioned earlier, and Deadpool and others, where they really are very different sorts of characters themselves. They help to break the monotony of designing dial after dial for character after character that are in a lot of ways kind of similar, because Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and the Hulk and they're all distinct characters. They all distinct powers and distinct backstories, but they're also all somewhat serious characters that need to kind of stick true to a certain sort of core set of values for that character. Whereas Deadpool, you have the ability to go in whatever direction you want. This goes to Jason's point about freedom, and it's a different sort of a design challenge. And yeah, it's more engaging, I think, when you're given that opportunity.
All right, Jay.
Freedom is always good, especially when you can notice in both Deadpool sets that character selection also is just amazing, because when you have a character that does all sorts of different stuff and goes all around like Deadpool does, you get more. I get better character selection because he just encounters more characters. So in addition to the Deadpools themselves, they'll be varied. You can get a better variety of characters that the designers themselves might want to actually make. So you have the guy who likes Howard the Duck, who's like, oh, there was a team up one time, and then you get a great Howard the Duck dial and similar stuff. And I can imagine that when you have that sort of freedom, it makes you enjoy the job you're doing more. So the effort that you can put in might be better than if it was a character that you don't really care about, or a character that you're not having fun designing in particular. It's just when you have that sort of aura of just fun and silliness and laughter, you're going to get more fun results. Like the Keychain Deadpool. Like you wouldn't get that sort of thing in a more serious set. So that ends up reflecting the general design philosophy and ideas that you're getting from the game in this sort of set, because of how free and loose it all is.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Good answers, guys. Good answers. All right. Next up, Fuzzy Wumple. I don't have a name for him. That's why he gets his username. On average, how many characters per set end up being meta or competitive play? I actually ran the calculator because sometimes you see about 5, maybe 6 characters get into a set. And when you average about 66 characters in a set, when you include the chases, not including the fast forces necessarily, you see maybe 7 to 10% of a set that actually becomes competitive play. And that's, I'm not going to kid you, any game you play, any collectible game you play, that's generally the average math. And that's one of the reasons why I actually kind of want to start doing some casual content on the channel is because there's 90% of your set that we're not talking about enough on this. So that's kind of, so yeah, roughly 10. Sometimes there's some extenuating circumstances beyond that, but it's not very frequent. But usually it's about 10% of a set that really just goes, this is meta potential. Tom, am I about right, or?
Yeah, I guess so. Without, I enjoy doing stats, so I would have to actually do the stats on it. But
yeah,
that sounds about right.
I think we should combine on that one because I'm taking a just rough hypothesis guess on what I've seen, but I do have to run some more math because I just kind of averaged it out to every 66 figure set. But then those numbers get skewed when you decide that it's like, what about Ninja Turtles? There's like 2 or 3 figures in that set that are strong, but that 2 or 3 out of 35 is different than out of 66, right? So, anyway, but Jay, any disagreement on that number?
I guess it also depends on your metric of what competitive is. You might say that only a certain number of characters in a set are good, but I might disagree and say that some characters are fringy and could be seen, not necessarily will win, but they could get potential competitively. So, but your numbers do sound about right as far as the established stuff. will go. Although I would have to say that the Deadpool set is looking like it's having a much higher percentage than most.
Yeah, that could be. I feel like Deadpool is going to be that weird outlier where there's a lot of things kind of thrown into some teams that already exist. Where it's like, I'm going to add this for nonsense value. So we'll see how that ends up, to say the least. But he also, Fuzzy Wumple does also ask. I love saying his name, Fuzzy Wumple. We've seen a lot of powers that punish a player for playing a theme team. Is there anything that punishes a player for not playing a theme team besides mat bonus and theme props? I'm going to go to the Wizard J. Jay, is there anything on the other end that punishes them for not playing a theme team? Actually, before you do, I can think of one character, and I think it's Dreadpool. Dreadpool is going to punish you for not playing a theme team because you'll be able to choose a name.
Atomica, kind of.
Yeah, Atomica. Yeah.
Wait, but I thought Dreadpool had to only attack characters with a certain keyword.
Well, and he could only attack them if he hasn't attacked a character with that name keyword.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if let's say you're playing a named X-Men keyword team, and I attack an X-Men with a non-free attack, I can't attack an X-Man. One of the ways around. Like you can't do both with the same, right? So it'd have to be like I'd have to find another named keyword amongst them to be able to target them again. That power is ridiculously difficult to pull off, by the way. I watched Aiden just struggle to try to be able to use it. It seems so strong, but once you get in his face, it's like I can't pull this off ever. So anyway,
I really can't think of anything that specifically punishes non-theme teams besides what you already said.
Yeah.
Well, because how do you do that? Just if your opponent isn't playing a theme team, they just get screwed. Like, I don't think that really should be a mechanic. If you're not playing a theme team, you're already sacrificing something as is. So I can't think of anything though.
Okay. Tom, can you think of anything?
Not really, no. Just
okay.
Like I say, Atomica, sort of.
There was. Oh yeah, no. Sorry, that Black Widow punishes you for having a theme team. Never mind.
I can think of literally one character, kind of. One of the Batman 66 Adam West villains has a power. Is alive with Death Trap. Bonus is based on how many distinct different keywords your opponent has. So if they have a bunch of random characters, they're gonna have more keywords, but that's really it.
Yeah. All right. Joe Fixit, great name. He asks, the Shredder Elite trait, can you sidestep when he moves after actions resolve, deal 1 penetrating damage to all adjacent characters? Does that activate only when sidestep or after every move? That's after every move. So if you sidestep, break away and move again, as long as the second movement he ends not adjacent to a character he didn't start adjacent to, that character can take damage. So, like, for instance, I have Iron Fist here, and I have Sabretooth over here. I love that I have comic characters over here, not just amiibos anymore, right? And Mega Man has the Shredder trait. So Shredder, he starts next to Iron Fist. He can break away, base both Shredder or Iron Fist and Sabretooth, deal 1 damage to Sabretooth, so long as, because he didn't start adjacent to. But again, if he sidesteps into Iron Fist, he can do 1 damage and then breaks away from Iron Fist and then, again, bases them both, still only doing 1 damage to Sabretooth because it's based on the start of the movement, right? So if he started adjacent to whoever he's breaking away from, then it's only going to be new characters that he ends up adjacent to next to it. Pop figures and Disney Infinity and amiibos to do Heroclix stuff. I love it.
I really hope that ends up being the thumbnail.
Like, so do I. Like Jason playing with toys on the screen. I just realized, though, that I wasn't focused on myself either. So it's actually just a thumbnail of the big thing. So somewhere down there is just a little me playing with toys. But Joe Fix does go on. You guys watch Rick and Morty at all?
Nope.
No.
That's a shame, because Joe Fixin wants to know how awesome it would be for a Rick and Morty set. And I think
probably pretty awesome.
If anything, the reading the powers on the card would be the most hilarious thing, because I want to be interrupted by burps in there.
I know that Glenn was like working on getting specific dials for characters from that set, and I think he's going to be on the show sometime soon. So ask that question again when he is.
Yep. I'm sure Mike will bring somebody on. When I'm gone, you guys seem to want company. All right. And I believe that's it in the chat, guys. So I want to thank everybody for watching. One of the rare shows that I'll actually be able to host. Mike, I hope you get better. And we missed you. Everybody in Michigan who got to hang out with Jay and Mike, hope you guys had a great time. I hope they treated you well, even though they were both using Fest. But I also want to thank again our sponsors, Hcrealms and MajesticCCG.com. Check out hcrealms.com. Go to that shop. Put in the coupon code Mary. Get 10% off of your purchase, man. Throw a little kickback to us. It's just a small one, but it's enough to help. As well, MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. $3 a month gets you access to some of the coolest stuff, some of the cool minds in Heroclix, and eventually, occasionally, sometimes rarely, my own mind does find its way on there. So if you want to see the mind of a crazy man discuss Heroclix, by all means, check out my articles. Usually my articles are very abstract, so I won't give you the answer, but I'll give you the thought process to get to the answer. I never like to give the answer. That's not fun. Maybe I should start wearing a community college teacher outfit and call myself Heroclix Community College. Tulare Community College seems to be doing well with it. So anyway, that's a magic reference. You guys don't like that. So, but that said,
That's true.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to this game, it takes one thing to get better at everything, and that is practice. And practice
Makes
Your
team
wait for it. It's a random one this time. Better.
Come on, internet. Give it to me. Give it to me. Slapstick! A good reflection
We're
of the
finally
next
getting them.
So we're getting him twice even, so it's even better. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night, and thank you very much for watching.